It really does seem like the show Gotham is on this upward trend. I really do think that. This is obviously the episode vlog, as you can probably tell by the description. This is the episodic review of the third episode of Gotham. I don't exactly know what it's titled. I'll put it in the title of the video, but it deals. Oh, that's the title, the Balloonman. The Balloonman. It obviously deals with the titular villain, or he's not really a villain in a lot of ways, and I really like how they address this early on, and at the same time sort of tried to tie it in with the events of the previous episode. The villain this time around was actually kind of like Batman, albeit, or at least he was in his goals and in his motivations, albeit a more extreme version of Batman and a goofier version of Batman because really balloons. But yeah, with this third episode, I'm really starting to notice this trend of them really ironing out the kinks, developing more of an identity, more so than they developed in the last episode. The Batman nods are slowly going away. They're not nearly as on the nose as they were. The characters are becoming more distinct. They're each going through their own story. And the episodic stories themselves, I thought, are weaved together pretty nicely. I like what they're trying to say about the concept of organized crime, and how it can exist in a city like Gotham, and what can potentially disrupt it, so on and so forth. So I like all that in terms of the script. I mean, can the separate stories afford to be weaved together a little more closely and be a little more what's the one I'm searching for? Focused? Probably, but it would be one thing if the other stories were not interesting. But for the most part, I think they are because I like the character of Oswald Cobblepot. I mean, yeah, sure, he can be a little goofy at times, but he's kind of goofy in that menacing sort of way. He's honestly, at this point, he's a better Penguin than Danny DeVito ever was. Then again, I'm not really a fan of the Tim Burton Batman movies, so of course, seeing this different side of the Penguin and seeing Cobblepot move up, or at least try to move up the chain of mobsters, I actually thought was pretty interesting. And how Maroney, I believe it was Maroney, came up to him and said, like, I started out like you, and look at me now. I started out as nothing, and look at me now. I'm something. So drawing that comparison, I actually thought was a really nice touch to the whole Cobblepot rise to power story. And in addition, I like the fact that Jim Gordon is growing increasingly conflicted about where his loyalties lie, how he can possibly maintain that he is a good cop while while working in a police department this corrupt. And he actually conveys this to his wife, and his wife actually brings up something that was conveyed to her, or it was told to her by Montoya about Gordon supposedly killing off Cobblepot. So I like that dynamic between with the character of Gordon. I'm continuing to like the chemistry that Gordon has with Bullock, that Ben McKenzie and Donald Logue have. I like those two performances and how they play off of each other. However, the one problem that has been with this show from the very beginning, that has only gotten more glaring as the show has steadily gotten better and developed more of an identity, is the character of Fish Mooney, played by Jada Pinkett Smith. I refuse to believe that someone as stupid and as impulsive as her ever got in any kind of position of power in the Gotham City underworld. I refuse to believe it. She has just made stupid decision after stupid decision. She doesn't seem all that bright. She is constantly getting shown up by other mobsters, specifically Falcone, which John Doman, I believe plays Falcone. So he's doing a good job. I would much prefer to see him in the role of Fish Mooney, but but yeah, it's not a very good performance either. Jada Pinkett Smith, she's she's saying every line like this, almost over exaggerated, almost guttural. And yeah, every time I see her, I like her less and less. To the point where she's actually getting kind of annoying by this point. So if she gets axed off, especially if it's by Cobblepot, who I actually start to like more and more the more times I see him, then I'm not gonna complain in the least. It can only make the show better if Fish Mooney goes bye bye. But yeah, aside from that, little touches like they don't really seem to be hammering home the point of oh, Selina Kyle. This kind of goes back to the Batman nods being thankfully left to a minimum, or at least they were in this episode, and hopefully that trend will continue. But the character of Selina Kyle, played by, I finally know how to pronounce her name, Cameron Beacondova. She's still a lot of fun, or at least she is from what little we've seen of her, and how sure it was predictable that she would eventually get out of those handcuffs, but you know, now the possibilities are endless. She's not in some juvenile facility. She's out on the streets. So I'd be interesting to see if the show weaves some interesting subplots around her. And in addition to that, let's see what else. Yeah, that's about it. And also the again, I liked the villain this time around more than the villains from last time. This villain was significantly less cartoonish, and again, the fact that it was this guy who devoted himself to the care of Gotham's children, and to see them basically shipped upstate was more than he could take. Hence why he's donning the alias of the Balloonman. So yeah, I actually thought the villain this time around was infinitely more interesting than those of last time, or even the time before with Mario Pepper and whatnot. But yeah, and just this doesn't affect the quality of the episode, but the corrupt cop that he kills, that actually sets them on the trail. I swear to God, the corrupt cop is. If this show was made about 20 years ago, this corrupt cop would have been played by Dennis Farina. I mean, just he almost. I wonder if this was what they were going for when designing and casting the part, because he just screamed Dennis Farina to me. I don't know. Maybe I just have Manhunter on the mind, or. But yeah. In addition to that, I like how Gordon makes the observation about how, and this kind of goes back to what this show seems to be doing relatively well, in that you know, it's trying to make a statement about organized crime and you know urban priorities in law enforcement, specifically in Gotham. But how Gordon makes the observation, you know, if this Ponzi scheme guy was blown away, then people see it as an act of justice. But when a cop gets blown away, then all of a sudden we're hunting down this balloon man. I mean, shouldn't everyone matter? I mean that would be the ideal world, but that's not exactly how it works in Gotham. So again, that's not only is that contributing to the I don't want to say urban commentary, but urban commentary that this show is trying to do, or at least fictionalized urban commentary, and also the Jim Gordon story arc. So I thought that that little development and that little observation worked both ways. So yeah, pretty strong episode. I do think once again that this show is getting better as it goes. It's getting more solid. I think there's more confidence right now than there was in the first episode. And like I said, I don't, with any luck, we will be able to completely excise the Batman crutches, as it were, and really establish this show fully as its own show. Right now, I think they're still a little too dependent on, you know, oh, hey, look at this. This guy's going to be the Penguin. This guy's going to be Catwoman. This woman's going to be Poison Ivy. So yeah, they're a little too dependent on nods and references at this point, but you know, they are getting better. This show is getting better, and this episode, I think anyways, is evidence of that.